Good evening, Juju Positive. I am doing well. How are you doing? Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Cement Shoes, welcome. Oh, you getting your basement put together, huh? Well, that's cool. Someone needs to come over and do mine. I've got our basement of our house is there's one room, a bedroom that is in the basement, but we can't use it because it doesn't have the code, the proper window access to get out in case of a fire. So you can't use it as a bedroom. But and then the rest of it's just a giant open space. It's never, I mean, it's cinder block and concrete floors. There's nothing that's ever been done with it. Houses in Oregon shouldn't have basements. We flooded last winter. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Hi, Brooks. You know, my father-in-law lives in the Eugene area, and he has a basement in his house. It's more for storage than anything else. Looking forward to the live stream, Brooks. Well, we can either do general crime trivia tonight, or we can do one on just Elaine Woodrow. Oh, it's up to you, everybody else. Which one we do? Either general or we do one on Elaine Woodrow. I can't speak today. Oregon, not Texas. Used to live in Kelso. Kelso's nice. Oh, the monster lady? Yep. I've got hundreds of trivia questions written down, but we can either do either or. Cement Shoes wants to go for Elaine. What does everybody else say? Which one should we do? General crime trivia or Elaine Woodrow? Yeah, I've got the same number of questions for either one. 30 for general or 30 for on Elaine. Juju Positive wants to see what she can remember on the monster lady. You may be surprised that some of these are a little bit obscure. Starfire, I think it's pronounced Warnos. I've been missing all my daytime chats from sleeping schedule messed up, mom in nursing home, helping girlfriend move, and still haven't had dental work done I needed. Oh, I'm sorry, Cement Shoes. Hi, Kimmy Jean. All right, well, we'll do Elaine. That 30 questions on her then. Yeah, you got to take care of your if you need dental work done, you got to get that done. How's the wife and son? They're both doing really good. The wife, she didn't do anything at all this past weekend, except for just kind of took it easy. She went shopping, grocery shopping, and she went to Costco, but that was it. Otherwise, she's just been reading it, and doing her what's it called, mahjong puzzles. I think that's what they are. But that's about it. And my son just living the best life he can. 4-year-old, just doing whatever he can, and trying to get away with just a little bit more than he shouldn't. Eileen. Aileen. Mahjong is fun. I've never actually done it. I mean, I see her playing it, but I've never actually done them. Looks more, a little bit more difficult than from what I would want. Nerve wracking, from what I've seen. Eileen. Hey, Jeannie. Welcome. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. All right, let's jump into it. So we're doing it on Elaine Wuornos, the serial killer. The movie that was made about her was called Monster, by the way. What is her middle name? What is Elaine Wuornos' middle name? A, Karen. B, Samantha. C, Carol. Or D, Connor. What is Elaine's middle name? Quizzes are nerve-wracking. Cement Shoes already jumped in with going with C for Carol. Your daughter's middle name is Eileen. Your like buttons aren't working. Yeah, it helps the algorithm. I can't see the like button right now. It might be something with YouTube. I'm on StreamYard, and on StreamYard on my dashboard from this side, you don't see the like button. You don't see the dislike button. I don't see them until and I never pay attention to it anyways, but it does. Yes, it does definitely help the algorithm in suggesting your video. But beyond that, it doesn't matter. It's considered interaction. So interact. 0 points for me. I haven't even given you the answer yet. Everybody's got 0 points right now. Anonymous. It works. Welcome. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I'm glad you can make it tonight. All right. What is Elaine Wuornos' middle name? The correct answer is C, as in Carol. Carol is her middle name. My eyes aren't working very well tonight, so I'm mostly going on what I can hear and can't really read the chat. Oh, I'm sorry, Jeannie. Hi, okie dokie. Welcome to the stream tonight. We are doing trivia on Elaine Woodrow. So the second question, question number 2. What was Elaine's last name on her birth certificate? What is the last name on her birth certificate? The options are A, Anderson, B, Vaughn, C, Johnson, D, Pittman. What is the last name on her birth certificate? We have D question mark, D, A, B. Pittman sounds right to me. Starfire is going with A. What is Elaine's last name on her birth certificate? The correct answer is D, as in dog, Pittman. She was born Elaine Carol Pittman. Karen Cato. Welcome, Karen. Anita, welcome. I hope you both had a wonderful weekend, and welcome to the stream. All right, question number 3. Leo Dale, her father, was sent to prison for child molestation around the time that she was born. How did her father die? How did Elaine's father die? A, suicide, B, stabbed to death, C, electric chair, or D, old age? How did Elaine's father, Leo Dale, die? Brooks, Juju, Jeannie are all going with A. Starfire, D. Anita is going with A. Hey, Alley Cat. Just getting here. I'll read the question again for you, Alley Cat. Leo Dale. Well, first off, all the questions tonight are on Elaine Woodrow, the serial killer, and the movie was based on her called Monster. But all the questions are on her tonight. We're on question number 3. Leo Dale, her father, was sent to prison for child molestation around the time she was born. How did her father die? A, suicide, B, stabbed to death, C, the electric chair, or D, old age? What is old age? You live to a point where your body just stops working completely, and you die of natural causes. Hey, Glowworm, welcome to the stream. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Caroline, welcome. I hope you had a wonderful weekend as well. How did Leo Dale, Elaine's father, die? Easily distracted. Welcome. We are on the third question. As the question is Leo Dale, Elaine Woodrow's father, how did he die? A, suicide, B, stabbed to death, C, electric chair, or D, old age? You said hung himself, so I'll go with A. I said that? Did I say that in a previous trivia night? I might have said something to that effect. Woody Harrelson's dad died from state-sanctioned execution. I think he got the chair. Blew my mind when I read that. When you heard that. Easily distracted is going with A. The correct answer is A. Yes, he hung himself. But suicide is the correct answer. All right, Elaine and her brother, this is question 4. Elaine and her brother were adopted by her paternal grandparents after their mother abandoned them. What happened to their biological mother? Diane, by the name, way, it doesn't matter, but her first name is Diane. What happened to Diane? A, she died in Florida in 2002, but lived a natural life, and normal life. B, nobody knows what happened to her. C, she got remarried and had a whole nother family. Or D, currently lives in Florida. What happened to Elaine and her brother? What happened to their mother after she abandoned them? What happened to her? Well, I didn't know. Cement shoes. No, Cement Shoes said that. Well, Cement Shoes is right. He hung himself while in prison. Committed suicide. Glowworm BBB. Nobody knows. The A, D, B, D, 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 D. Spaghetti Noma. Welcome. Hi. Hello, everyone. Well, welcome to the stream. I hope that you had a wonderful weekend. Relaxed. We are currently on question 4 of the trivia for tonight. Okie doke, he's going with B. B. I'm sure she had a lot of new friends in prison, being a child predator. Oh, I'm sure he made a lot of friends. Yeah. Well, he was in. It predates what they now call protective custody, Cement Shoes, but he hung himself because he was a sick individual, obviously, but he had a lot of mental health issues that he knew about, and his therapist, before he ever went to prison, knew about. His attorney knew about it, but the prison system didn't care, and well, they wouldn't have cared if they would have known. Alley Cat is going with D. The correct answer is A. She lived a natural life, full life, and she died in Florida in 2002. But she was remarried one time after she abandoned both of her children. But she died in Florida in 2002. There is no information that she had any additional children, at least not from what I was able to find online. Oh, poo. Grandson needs me. Have a. Thank you for your time tonight. Bye. You have a great week, Spaghetti Nona. Oh, Kimmy Jean. Kimmy Jean needs to go. Well, Kimmy, you have a great night. Thank you again for being here for a little bit, but you take care of those grandbabies. Those are obviously a lot more important. They bear a strong facial resemblance to Elaine and her father. So, next question. How many children did Elaine have herself? How many children did Elaine have? Options are A, 2 children, B, 1, C, 3, or D, 8. How many children did Elaine have herself? Love and hugs, everyone. Bye, Kimmy. You take care. Juju Positive's going with A. 1. A. 1. Easily Distracted is going with B. How many children did Elaine have in her lifetime? Glowworm, she had 3. This is what Glowworm is going with. Starfire B, Okie Dokie 1. Starfire's going with B, but didn't know she had any. Oh, well, I can never remember which option is which. Okie Dokie, A is 2, B is 1, C is 3, and D is 8. You didn't know she had any children either, Juju? The correct answer to how many children did Elaine have, the correct answer is B. She had 1 child. She got pregnant at the age of 14 and gave birth to a son, which she immediately put up for adoption. She didn't even have the child but an hour. An hour after birth, they took the child from her. It went to a natal care unit, and then it was adopted out to another family. But she had 1, a son. Yep, Spaghetti Noma, she had a boy. Definitely did. 14 years old. All right, next question. In 1976, and in her early 20s, Elaine hitchhiked across America to Florida, from Colorado to Florida, to be exactly, where she met her future husband, Louis Fell, F-E-L-L, Fell is his last name. How old was he when they got married? A, 83, B, 80, C, 69, or D, 74. And I'll read the question again. In 1976 and in her early 20s, Elaine hitchhiked across America from Colorado to Florida, where she would meet her future husband, Louis Fell. How old was he when they got married? A, 83, B, 80, C, 69, or D, 74? B, 69, D, 69, B, D. Well, got just about every one of the answers, guesses so far. Karen Cato is going with C, 69. She was in her early 20s, ladies and gentlemen. when she married Louis Fell? Just think, Norman Fell. Norman Fell. All right. The correct answer is C, as in cat. He was 69 years old, and she was in her early 20s when they got married. And incidentally, Louis Fell had the marriage annulled because Elaine wouldn't stop hanging out at a local bar where she would then pick fights with other people. And she got arrested eventually for assault battery. And then she, the day she got out, she went right back to the bar and hung out there and started doing exactly what she was doing. She didn't want to really be at home with him anymore, but they were married. He was 69 years old and she was in her early 20s. LOL, Mr. Roper. Yeah, he was definitely. Juju is 3 for 6. I wonder what he thinks and hopes her son has a happy life. It doesn't. And all the information on that I was researching for that trivia question, she was. All it said in the actual transcript was that she was 14 years old. The father of the child was 16 years old, but it did not list his name anywhere at all. And there is no birth certificate with a name or anything like that because the child was given up for adoption the day he was actually born. So that she never named her son. Kind of messed up, if completely. I don't know if it would have helped her, but all right. Oh, we should have stayed with him. She blew it. Oh, she definitely was a victim. Yeah, if you want to really watch, read some up on a case, the background of Elaine it's tragic. From the day she was born, there have been nothing but people who've preyed upon her, and we're surprised that she became the person that she did. Good evening, Yellow Lemons. Welcome to the stream. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. All right, next trivia question. Elaine always carried a Smith & Wesson pistol with her to protect herself from her Johns because she worked as a prostitute and people who wished her harm. What caliber of pistol did she always carry with her? A 22, B, a 357, C, a 9mm, or D, a 40mm? Elaine always carried a Smith & Wesson pistol with her for protection. What caliber of pistol was it? A 22, B, a 357, C, a 9mm, or D, 40mm? Smith Shoes is going with 22. A for GG positive. C, B, C. No, he didn't. Hi, Sarah. Welcome to the stream, Sarah. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. No. Yes, nobody gets the questions beforehand. Now, I have made the mistake, though. In a video, I had my notebook sitting in the background like this. It was propped up in the background. I totally forgot that it was there. And somebody had actually taken a still shot of the actual frame from my video, and they emailed it to me that my trivia questions were sitting in the background, and they could actually see them. That has happened. So now I keep them all over here. Don't keep them on the shelf behind me anymore. You honestly don't know anything about guns, Juju Positive? Well, the correct answer, like Cement Shoes pointed out, is A. She carried a .22 caliber pistol with her always. She stole one. She bought one. She stole another, and then another. So, but she preferred the .22 caliber pistol. She could have stolen anything or bought, illegally, any other caliber, but she liked the .22. .22, incidentally, is the caliber most widely used by assassins, hitmen. I guessed it right. See, there you go. Sometimes you just got to take a guess. All right, next question. Who was Elaine's first murder victim? Who was the first murder victim of Elaine? A. Richard Dent. B. Richard Mallory, C. Richard McCluster, or D. Richie Rich? Hey, Mr. Frosty, and yes, the 40 millimeter would be anti-aircraft or anti-tank round. Yeah, a 40 millimeter, bullet will leave a pretty good sized freaking hole. Not only about that big around going in, the size of hole coming back out of you or through something is pretty good. Yellow Lemons is going with McCluster. Okie dokie, going with Richie. It says Richie Rich. Remember Richie Rich, huh? So I guess, since you remember Richie Rich, we can rule that one out. So there's only 3 options. Who was Elaine's first murder victim? B, 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 C, B, 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 B. Oh, you have to take off, Sarah? Bye, Sarah. You have a great week ahead. Thank you for stopping in tonight. Inner Peas, Rich Little. Good evening, Inner Peas. Who was Elaine Wardnow's first murder victim? A. Richard Dent. B. Richard Mallory. C. Richard McCluster. D. Richie Rich. Doesn't a .22 shoot all over your body? Caroline, it does have a tendency to ricochet off of bones inside the body. But I mean, you can get just about any round to do that. A normal round could fragment, and then go everywhere. But a .22 is just a little tiny. Hold on a second. That right there is a 20. That's a .22 round. Can you see that? Something that contrast in the background. All right. This is a .22. This is a regular .22, and then there's .22 rifle rounds, .22 long, whatever you want to call them. Then there's supers. But to give you a contrast of the size of it. Little tiny bullet. Derringer. Yep, it's a Derringer round. I've got several handguns that shoot these. I've got a little Jennings pocket pistol. It's about that big. That shoots these .22s. I also have a Colt that revolver but it's six shooter. It looks like an old Western, like six shooter you see in the movies that shoots 22s. R.C. Mallory. The correct answer is B, Spaghetti Noma. You are correct. Richard Mallory was her first murder victim. Juju Positive, you own a 1940s house. So do I. Juju Positive. My home was built in 1944. Hey, Terry Furman. Welcome. I hope you had a wonderful weekend, Terry. Glad you could make the trivia tonight. We're only on question number 9 out of 30, so there's plenty of questions left. Your house was built in 1940? Yeah. 1944. Most of the homes in my entire city, about 75% of the homes in my city were built in 1944. Most of them were built back east and then delivered here to the actual location, put together by the people who were actually moving into them. The walls were all finished. You just had to put wall A and wall B together, with nail them together, and then you put wall C. It was like step by step, like Legos or Lincoln Logs, kind of like in a way putting the houses together. All right, next question. Every one of Elaine's victims were found the same way. How were they found? A, with their hands on their lap. B, with one hand behind their head. C, naked. Or D, shot with a .22 caliber pistol and wearing lipstick. How were every one of Elaine's victims found? Deceased. Okie dokie, you're correct. Every one of them were deceased. They were all deceased, yes. Sears. Juju Positive, kind of like Sears, that they're very similar to the Sears homes, the Sears Roebuck homes that you could buy in a catalog. Very similar. And every one of the homes, that 75% of the towns, the homes in our town, were every one of them has a letter: A house, B house, C house, D house, multiplex, ranch. But they're all like just like the way the Sears Roebuck used to sell them. Exactly, but not the same floor plan or exactly the same type of houses. Don't. But they're all made back east, put on a train, shipped out here. And most of them didn't have foundations. They were put on what they call post and beam, which is not attached to the ground at all. So if you wanted to, and as time went on, people put basements in or poured concrete slabs for them. I discovered Anita Butts discovered your trivia night, and I think you're very cool. Good topic tonight. Thank you, Anita. I appreciate it. Poured concrete. Morphew is guilty. Yes. Barry is very guilty. All right. So how are every one of Elaine's victims found? The correct answer is C. Every single one of Elaine's victims that she killed were found naked as a jaybird. She took everything off of them, or they got themselves undressed before she killed them. It's not Anita. I'm her daughter who studies criminology in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Well, okay, welcome. I'm glad that you're here. You should probably find this trivia night really interesting. All right, number 10. In 1990, her final victim was discovered shot 4 times at close range with, again, the .22 caliber pistol bullet. Who was her last victim? A. David Spears. B. Walter Antonio. C. Dick Humphreys. Or D. Eugene Burris. Who was Elaine's final victim? David Spears, Walter Antonio, Dickie Humphreys, or Eugene Burris. Burris. Burress. Burris. Are those Lustron houses? No, the houses that built 75% of our town here all the homes were built by the federal government, the U.S. government. They actually opened up, they converted 2 actual factories that made planes during the war and converted them over to manufacturing homes. And so in 1944, they converted them over from making airplanes to making homes. And it was all done on a giant assembly line. They would make, 200 of this house and 200 of that house and 200 of this house. But the entire population was already here, and they lived basically in campers and in tents while they lived here, and they were waiting for all the homes to get shipped out here. And then they would give you a section. It was like a lottery. They had the working community of individuals who were here. Then they had the upper management, and they had the army officers, and then they had barracks, and then there were each individual. And then I'm sorry to say, but they was completely segregated. If you were African American, Latino, Chinese, or anything other than white, they had an entire other section of town for you. They didn't intermingle them. It was the government, though. I'm about 5 hours away from Will, and my house is in Lesteron. Who was Elaine's final victim? The correct answer is B, as in boy. Walter Antonio was her last victim. Maybe less than 5 hours. Wish my dad would have gotten one. Caroline Maslin. Talking a bit about it. Yeah, it's an interesting town. Everything here was built for the war effort. 90% of the land around here was owned by the federal government for the longest time. It's just now slowly transitioning back to, the civilian, and individuals and contractors and stuff like that, as they shift from being almost 100% work, and everything owned by the government over to, normal, away from the government, I guess. All right, next question. How many murders did Elaine, how many murders was Elaine convicted of? I can actually read my own handwriting, but sometimes I just can't get it out. How many murders was she actually convicted of? A, 5, B, 6, C, 7, or D, 10? How many murders was Elaine actually convicted of? Don't say that will Biden's in office. You in Everett? No, I'm on the east side of the state. Are you talking to somebody else, Juju? Daughter's Allie and is participating with me tonight. She will subscribe. Well, thank you, Anita. And I'd like to tell your daughter, Allie, welcome. And I hope you enjoy the content on this channel. I appreciate it. B5C7D. A lot of people guessing 7 or C. And what is C? C is 7. Come on, I'm going with Cement Shoes. I don't know, what did Cement Shoes say? Cement Shoes says 7. How many murders was she convicted of? Juju, I am right on the Columbia River. I'm not on the Columbia River Gorge area, no. Probably about 170 miles from the gorge, if not more. I only go to the gorge once in a great while. I'm closer to Umatilla, going that direction. All right. How many murders was Elaine actually convicted of? Cement Shoes. Sorry, but it wasn't 7. It was 6. She was convicted of 6 murders. She committed 7 murders, but she was convicted of 6. At least that's what it says here. You know, and in the what I read online said that she was convicted of 6 murders, but she actually committed 7. My hometown is the Dalles. I love the Dalles. I used to have a friend who lived there. He lived in the Dalles, and then he moved to Bonneville, right next to the city that's right next to the Bonneville Dam. And he retired, and he still lives there to this day in Bonneville. But great fishing there. Great fishing. So B is the correct answer. B is the correct answer. 6. All right, next. What was Elaine's final meal before she was executed? What was her final meal? A Snickers bar and a Coca-Cola. B, liver and onions and a cup of black coffee. C, chicken and carrots and a black coffee. Or D, nothing at all. She refused, but had a cup of black coffee. What was Elaine's last meal before she was actually killed? Cement Shoes is going with black coffee. In Deschutes, a lot of good breweries there. Deschutes Brewery in Deschutes, obviously. So Deschutes is going with black coffee. D. Glowworm going with liver and onions and coffee. D sounds more like it. Starfire. Mr. Frost is going with D. Breweries are a muck there. Yeah. I think it's Fleijen. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's one of my wife's favorite beers. She's the only person I know that can open a beer and spend 3 hours drinking it. But definitely some breweries that in that area. Alley Cat's going with D. Okay, I am still here. You just cannot see me, but I am here. You did not lose the stream. What was Elaine's last meal before she was executed? The correct answer is D, as in dog. She refused to have a last meal, but had a cup of black coffee. Speaking of the day of Elaine's actual execution, what were Elaine's final words before she was put to death? What were her last words? A, I'll be back like Independence Day. B, kiss my ass. C, I had to kill them all. Or D, who cares if I live or die? What were the final words from Elaine before she was executed? Three hours. That I missed it. I missed what that is about Brooks. If I knew I was going to die, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't want to eat either. Who would eat the other selections? Oh, liver and onions. I love liver and onions. Hi, Lisa. Welcome to the stream, sweetheart. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. What were Elaine's final words before she was put to death? The options are A, I'll be back like Independence Day. B, kiss my ass. C, I had to kill them all. Or D, who cares if I live or die? Click the video to make sure you're live. Some are behind in the chat. 3 hours? That's the definition of nursing a beer. Yeah. She's not much of a beer drinker, Brooks. She's more of she enjoys wine, ice wines and rosés. They're crushing my head with the sonic pressure. The guard's face behind her in the documentary was priceless. Yeah. Joey Wilson, welcome. Welcome to the stream, Joey. I hope you had a wonderful week and weekend. We are playing True Crime Trivia tonight. All the questions are on Elaine Woldnernos. I can't talk. I can't even read it off my own paper here in front of me. The serial killer. We're doing it all on Elaine Woldnernos. Thank you. I can actually say it now. Woldnernos. Elaine. The movie, the monster. I can't remember who was it. Was it Saren who played her in the movie? I can't remember. But what right now the question is, what were her final words that she said before being executed? The correct answer is A. And Michelle, welcome, Michelle. A is the I'll be back like Independence Day was her final statement before she was executed. My thing froze. There it is. MSOMG XXX, welcome. Angelina, welcome. My guess is D. Lane's last words was the correct answer was A. I'll be back like Independence Day. Next question is, how was Elaine actually executed? How was she actually executed? A, lethal injection. B, hanging. C, electric chair. Or D, shot with a .22 caliber pistol. Why is it when I drink one beer, 3 come out? I can't drink beer, much less I have a clear path to the bathroom unless you have a I don't know. Theron? So it was her, that the same lady I'm thinking of. Are you, the stream is behind or the chat is behind? You might be on top chat if the chat is behind. Brooks is going with lethal injection. They probably wished it was D. Right? Well, how was she actually put to death? Angelina is going with A. She said, we're all evil and we're going to die in 2036 when we get nuked. I think they have the video in rewind. Might be. Very valid point, Joey. They actually have a little syringe. Wow. How was she put to death? She was put to death by lethal injection. The correct answer is A. A is the correct answer. All right, next question. What hobby did Elaine pick up while she was on death row? What hobby did Elaine pick up while on death row? The options are A, painting, B, writing, C, poetry, or D, ceramics. What hobby did Elaine pick up while on death row? No, she said 2019, like she knew about the beer virus, the coronavirus. Juju Positive, you love ceramics and poetry. Elaine Green, welcome. Welcome to the stream. I hope you had a wonderful week, Elaine. Angelina's going with C. Caroline's going with B. C is poetry and B is writing. What hobby did Elaine pick up while on death row? The correct answer is A, painting. She would do small little paintings because you could buy the little canvas board and paint through the commissary there at the prison, and she would go to an actual classroom. She didn't get to keep them in her actual cell with her on death row. So, but they had a class that they could leave and they could go to from death row, where all the inmates who were on death row could go to. But none of her paintings actually survived. her time on death row, she herself destroyed them all before they actually, when she knew her execution date was coming close. So one of the last times that she was in there, she destroyed them all. But that is a hobby that she picked up while on death row. When Elaine was convicted of murder, next question is, when Elaine was convicted of murder of the 6 men, she admitted, God. Okay, let's start over again. When Elaine convicted of murder of the 6 men, she admitted to killing how. I wrote this and it doesn't make any sense. When was Elaine convicted of the murders of the 6 men is what I think I was supposed to write. Not what I wrote though. So let's just cross that out and write in when was Elaine convicted of the murders of the 6 men that she admitted to killing? A, April of 1992. B, May 1993. C, June of 1991. Or D, January of 1992. When was Elaine convicted of the murders of 6 men that she admitted to killing? Oh, it's mind-numbingly boring in prison. From what I've read, that's one of the things that a lot of people, especially on death row, more people on death row go mentally insane. Because it's mind-numbing, 23 hours a day is basically, they're on lockdown. They might get out for an hour a day. In some prisons they're locked down for 20 hours a day, and that's it. They don't do anything at all. You read, you write letters, you try to keep in contact with somebody, but when you're cut off from everybody and nobody's writing you, the brain just turns on itself. But at least that's what I've read. Eileen. Okay. Glowworm. So I had to cross out half of the sentence and actually rewrite it because it didn't even make sense to me the way I wrote it. When was Elaine convicted of the murders of the 6 men that she admitted to killing? A, April of 1992. B, May 1993. C, June of 1991. Or D, January of 1992. When was she convicted of the murders? You made a song called Eileen. Yeah, Michelle, you definitely, lockdown has drove a lot of people nuts. And as things are coming open, they know. And, there've been a lot of therapists and stuff like that who have been, offering, free online chats for people, especially during the COVID shutdown when everything was on lockdown. People being trapped inside their homes. They know that locking people down like this, we're going to see a spike in crime. Certain crimes are going to spike. Domestic violence, in particular, suicide. During the shutdown, spiked across the board, across the United States. They knew it. They absolutely knew that these things were going to, shoot up. You lock people together for so long, that people go nuts. They wear on each other's nerves. And the next thing that's going to come is we're going to see a spike in divorces from here. And we're also going to see a spike also in births, babies, new babies, little babies. That hotel room that she and her GF stayed in seemed haunted. What was it? I have a question about her. on here. I know I do. Tyra. Hi, MT. Welcome to the stream. I hope you had a great weekend and some short nights. You as well. Welcome. Hope you both had a wonderful weekend. Lisa is going. Where was it? It's a video. Dan Bell stayed there one night alone. Did he? Spaghetti Noma is going with Convictions in 1992. I live alone, so no one is getting on my nerves. I wish I could live alone for a little bit. Not too long, but you know, I would like to have some peace and quiet. And even being here in my studio, I have a sign that that's outside. I flip, says when I'm recording, and I lock the door so nobody comes in. Otherwise, people they're coming and going all the time from in here or out here just outside the studio because we have a deep freeze and another refrigerator, full size refrigerator in here that's backup for the house. When was Elaine convicted of the murders of the 6 men? The correct answer is D, as in dog, January of 1992, January 27th to be exact. She was convicted of the 6 counts of murder. I want a tiny house with just me. I know somebody who bought one of those little tiny houses, and they had it for a couple of years, and then they decided to sell it, and they bought an RV. And now they travel the United States in an RV. Everything the tiny home made them understand that they could only have just the essential things. They didn't need as much as they had before in their previous home, and then that kind of got them into the RV, which is like okay, we only have so much space in this RV. And we can only take with us what we have in here. They don't have a home anymore. The RV is their home. And they have 2 P.O. boxes that they used to have mail sent to. And then if they find a place they want to stay for an extended period of time, they can have their mail forwarded from one post office box to the other. So Means tried to get Lori a phone. Lori Fallow, yeah, that's not going to happen. All right, next question. How long was Elaine on death row before she was executed? How long was she on death row? A, 2 years. B, 20 years. C, a decade. Or D, she's still there. How long was Elaine on death row before she was executed? Ladies and gentlemen, you can automatically eliminate D because the question is, how long was Elaine on death row before she was executed? So she can't still be there on death row. Pretty Wicked, welcome. How are you doing? I hope you had a wonderful weekend. You're going with C, are you? C. A decade, huh? C. A lot of C's. Hi, Will. Hello, Pretty Wicked. Wicked good, huh? My buddy Tim is from Old Town, Maine. Whenever we're golfing, he always says wicked a lot. He doesn't realize it until somebody points it out to him. It's wicked. But okie dokie, 10 years. There's a lot of land in Idaho. It's pretty much. I have land in we have property in Idaho, up in the Panhandle of Idaho, close to Spokane state line. Sorry. Mean to make weird faces at everybody. Hey, Carrie. Welcome to the stream, Carrie. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Juju positive is past tense. How long did Elaine spend on death row before she was executed? The correct answer is C, as in cat. She was on death row for a decade. Cult land. Now, there used to be a lot of religious separatists in that area. There's also a huge skinhead compound up there, which incidentally was sold and is now owned or operated by the Rainbow Coalition, which is like a foundation that works to end racism. You look great in blue. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Carrie. All right. Next question. After being convicted of the murders of 6 men, how many more did she confess to killing? How many more did she confess to killing? A, 2, B, 1, C, 3, or D, 4? How many more men did Elaine confess to killing after being convicted of the 6? No wonder she started painting. Usually positive. She said a lot. Cement shoes. One more, man. One more. You want to see the Skinhead Cult? And they're not there anymore. I can't remember what the story is behind it all, but they've been gone for quite a long time, and they're not there anymore though. Mark Furman lives up there. And I think he has a home there, and he has one in Montana as well. Y'all know I mentioned 7 killings, 6 convictions. Yep. Y'all mentioned 7 killings and 6 convictions. Anita Butts, 1. After being convicted of murdering 6 men, how many more did she confess to killing? The correct answer is B, 1. She actually confessed to killing Peter Sims, whose body was never recovered. 1. All right, next question. Oh, welcome to the channel membership, Juju Positive. Do you have any good hiking trails in your area? Not really, Brooks. There's one that's really popular, where people hike to the top of what they call a mountain. It's really a hill, and people stand up on top of there and go, okay, great. But most of that land is owned by a church. So, you can only hike up the one trail, look out, go, yeah, look, down there's a parking lot. And then back down the trail you go. It's really popular in the late fall and in wintertime. Not so much in the summertime. People do still hike it in the summertime, but we have rattlesnakes here. So it's not something you want to take your little kids out and walk on. You know, they try to keep it as clean as possible to keep snakes away in the brush back, but still, there are rattlesnakes everywhere here. What's usually positive? It doesn't matter to me, to tell you the truth, sweetheart. It doesn't. You know, either way, the YouTube takes a cut of it. You know, same with Patreon or anything else. I mean, everybody's got to make their money doing what they do, and I don't fault them for it. You know, some of them take a little bit more, some of them take a little bit less. But yeah, with channel membership though, you also now you get access to channel membership videos. And I think there's like 160 some, and I'm not kidding. There's probably there's 160 plus videos that you can now watch that but the general public doesn't have access to. So, all right, next question on the trivia. Who did Elaine say was her one and only true real love? Who did Elaine say was her one and only real true love? A, her son. B, Louis Fell. C, Richard Mallory. Or D, Tyra Moore. What is a chief? They're just different levels, and there's different perks for each level. To tell you the truth, right offhand, Carrie, I don't know. I would have to actually look at it. So if you give me a minute, I'll pull it up and I can actually give you the actual real answer, what the three different tiers are. But who did Elaine say was her one and true real love? A, her son. B, Louis Fell. C, Richard Mallory. Or D, Tyra Moore. Chief. Okay. There are currently three people who have chief, the chief level. Of those with chief, you get all the perks of the other ones. You get a different icon. You get that. You get access to all the videos. You get a direct email link, which I give to the person who's in the chief level, so they can email me. I also do. I help them with people with excuse me. I help with researching cases if they have a channel themselves, or helping them set up their own YouTube channel, whichever they prefer. One does. I don't know who that is. People change their names, so I have to actually look at it again to find out who this person is. But chief is the highest level. Detective, that's $24.99 a month. Detective is $9.99 a month, but most people are investigators at $1.99 a month. Okie dokie. 10 for YouTube, 20 for you. Thank you very much, okie dokie. But okie dokie, I sweetheart, as you know, I'm going to be donating it all to Next for Autism. But I appreciate it anyways. I really do. Thank you very much. All right. Who did Elaine say was her one and only real love? The correct answer is D. Tyra Moore was her one and only true love, according to a statement that she gave to a reporter who interviewed her while she was on death row. Carrie Ludwig, you don't have to give me anything at all, sweetheart. I appreciate it though, but you don't have to. But I just want people to watch the content. Just watching it, and liking the video helps out so much. So, but thank you though. All right. Next question. After her adoptive grandmother died, all right, because Elaine was, her daddy was in prison. Mommy abandoned her and her brother. After her adoptive grandmother died, where did Elaine live for almost a year? Where did Elaine live for almost a year after her grandmother died? A, she lived in Pennsylvania. B, in the woods near her grandmother and grandfather's home. C, in Texas, in the Fort Wayne area. Or D, in Florida in a homeless shelter. Where did she live after her adoptive grandmother died? They all need help with Zoom. Well, thank you, Juju. Please ask again. B, got a lot of bees in the woods in Michigan, says Cement Shoes. D, a lot of B's, a couple C's. Will I have an adult son who is autistic? It's on the spectrum. You have a son on the spectrum with autism. My son is only 4. His journey is just begun. It's just begun. I love that little boy so much. As I love my daughter as well. But he's definitely going to have, barriers to a lot of things in life going forward. And I'll be damned if I'm going to let anybody, get in his way. All right. Where did Elaine live after her adoptive grandmother died? We all ought to just be copying off of Cement Shoes. In the woods in Michigan is where she lived. In the woods. The correct answer is B, as in boy. Yeah, I know. It does seem like, maybe Cement Shoes did get these questions ahead of time. But trust me, everyone, he did not get these questions ahead of time. Okie dokie has an autistic grandson. Your 4-year-old granddaughter is also autistic. Michelle, you didn't know that one? Grandson just turned 13, and he said he would go to the doctor because last night hair grew in his armpits. I'm gonna have to answer questions like that eventually from my boy. Our daughter, my wife had a really easy time, with upbringing and everything else with our daughter. Our daughter doesn't have autism, but she's totally normal. Well, for whatever normal is, but she doesn't have any barriers to education or communication at all, and she doesn't understand some of the things that are going on with my son and where I do. I know what it's like, a little boy or just being male. So definitely can help there. All right, next question. Where was Elaine born? Where was she born? A, Dallas, Texas. B, New York City. C, Rochester, Michigan. Or D, Miami, Florida. Where was Elaine born? Oh, thank you, Carrie. I appreciate that. You got the one wrong. But that was an easy one to make a mistake on. Okay, cement shoes. That was easy to make a mistake on. Convicted of 6, admitted to killing 7. They never did. To this day, they still haven't found his body. But I have another. I'd tell you more about it. But there's another question on here. I know for sure about that individual. So the paste pecani sauce. Where's your paste pecani sauce made? New York City. Get a rope. I still remember it. I'm normal. I once placed my head on my hubby's shoulder in a restaurant, looked up, and it wasn't my husband. Oh my God. Oh, okie dokie. Wow. I've had something similar to that happen to me. Me and my wife, we were back when we were dating. We went to a house party, a gathering, what do they call it? It was somebody had just moved in, like housewarming party. They moved into a new home, and so it was a gathering. There's probably about 30 people there, and I left the room and I came back into the room without knowing it, and I went to throw my arm around my wife's back. Well, we weren't married yet. Around her back, and I put my hand around, right around the hip area. And when I did, and then I looked over at her, and it wasn't her. I was just like, but in my defense, both women were wearing the same colored outfit, and they were about the same height and build. Oops. But I've never done anything like that. Lay my head on the wrong woman's shoulder. That must have been an interesting when TV was amusing back then with the paste pecani sauce. All right. So where was Elaine born? The correct answer is C. Rochester, Michigan. Okay. I have to preface it. Some of the questions from here on out, I actually put an asterisk next to each one of them. There are some questions that are going to come up that may be disturbing to some of the viewers, and the next question in particular may be disturbing to some of the viewers out there and those who are listening to this content right now. If you don't wish to hear graphic details or questions like that, I would suggest you take a short break. Okay. But for everybody, sensitive content, yes, definitely. Wrong car and fled. All right. So with that warning, the next question is, Elaine said she was forced to have a sexual relationship with her brother by her grandfather. What is her brother's birth name? So that's it. That's the whole question. But I put an asterisk next to it anyways because of the type of question it is. Elaine said she was forced to have a sexual relationship with her own brother by her grandfather. What is her brother's birth name? A. Kenneth Woolneros. B. Keith Pittman. C. Sammy Scott Woolneros. Or D. Jim Bob Pittman. What is her brother's birth name? Cement Shoes is going with Keith. They don't know your secrets. Brooks is going with Keith. Got a lot. B. Thanks. Elaine Woolworth's brother's name. Little bit of Sandra. Welcome. How you doing, Sandra? Hope you had a great weekend. The Pittman name again? Jim Bob Pittman. Or that's D, or Keith Pittman is B. Juju Positive is going with beep, 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 beep. Elaine Woolrose's brother. What is his name? His name is B. Keith Pittman. Elaine Woolrose's brother. Brother's last name is, his name is Keith Pittman. All right. Next question. This is not a graphic question. These are all, I'll tell you when the next one comes up. So next question is, who turned state's evidence in a plea deal to avoid prosecution for crimes that her and Elaine committed? Who turned state evidence? If you hear the question. Who turned state evidence in a plea deal to avoid prosecution for crimes they committed with Elaine Woolnoss? I'm just going to call her fucking Elaine. I'm sorry for my language, but I'm having a hell of a time pronouncing things tonight. A. Tyra Moore. B. Richard Mallory. Or C. Jane Moore. Or D. David Spade. Who took a plea deal to avoid prosecution for a crime, for the crimes that she committed with Elaine? So if you hear the she, so you can automatically eliminate 2 out of the 4. It's obviously a female. Cement Shoes going with Tyra Moore. Her girlfriend. We're halfway through. Good times, Deborah. Winky Whispers. Welcome. All new here. Jane Moore. Winky Whispers, Tyra Moore. David Spade's deal is another story. I hope you, Winky Whispers. I hope you had a great weekend. Now, sorry, I got busy reading the the comments and didn't get a chance to say hello. I hope you enjoyed this the true crime trivia tonight. So the question is, who turned state evidence in a plea deal to avoid prosecution for crimes that she committed with Elaine? The correct answer is A. Richard Diffley. He's drunk again. Who's that? Who's drunk again, Richard? All right, next one. According to Elaine, she committed her first crime at what age? Her first crime. The options are A, 6 years of age, B, 7 years of age, C, 8 years of age, or D, 9 years of age. According to Elaine's own statement, she committed her first crime at what age? Manachito, welcome. Yo. I hope you have had a great weekend, Manachito. 11's not an option, Winky Whispers. It's 6, 7, 8, or 9, her first crime. When did she commit her first crime? Too young on these choices. Yep. At what age did Elaine commit her first crime? 6, 7, 8, or 9? I am still here then. She got about the most depressing life I've ever heard of. She had a pretty messed up life, Cement Shoes. That is absolutely true. And if you actually read about Elaine's life or Eileen's life, if you read about it, the things that happened to her from birth all the way through to becoming an adult, there was so much that happened to her that is no child should ever have to live through. Things that happened to her that no one should have to live, have happen to them at all, period, is what I meant. Not have to live through. I mean, hell, people live through everything, but still, that shouldn't have ever happened to her or anyone. Excuse me. Winky whispers, absolutely. Her environment and the people that surrounded her from birth on were just horrific. And some of those questions, we'll find out more about her upbringing in earlier years here with some of the questions that are coming up. So you stumped on this one. Debbie, welcome. Trying not to hear any answers so I can take this later. Okay, Deb. Well, welcome to the stream, Deb. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. So, according to Eileen, she committed her first crime at what age? The correct answer is D, as in dog, age 9. She stole candy and soda from a local convenience, like mom and pop store. In some ways, we are still struggling with no telling as a society, mind your own business, etc. You got here late, Debbie? So the correct answer to that one was D, 9 years of age. All right, next question. In 1983, Eileen was questioned and listed as a suspect for what crime? What crime was she questioned and listed as a suspect in? A, murder. B, theft of a gun. C, arson. Or D, bank robbery. In 1983, Eileen was questioned and listed as a suspect in what crime? A, murder. B, theft of a gun. C, arson. Or D, bank robbery. What is the best book on her? Carrie, I don't know. That's a good question. I did most of my research for these questions comes from the internet. And I don't just sit down and like write out a list for each person. I came up originally how I did this, Carrie, is I listed originally on a separate piece of paper. I wrote down 12 people that I wanted to do trivia on, and that I have a list here. What I did was I went, okay, so for those 12 people, I wanted to find 30 questions for each person to do trivia, and then as I find them, I just write them down in the notebook. So, like. Go back here. So at the top of the page, it has her name is written here at the top, right there. But then I have the section just before it is on general crime trivia. So I have 30 questions that I write down there, and then I put a star next to it in the upper corner. Or I put a tab, one of those like sticky tab things, and I leave it there. And noting that, okay, that one's done, then I go on to the next one, then I make another list of 30, and I make another list of 30. I have hundreds of these that are written down. Which one was I on? Okay, now she stole here. All right. In 1983, Eileen was questioned and listed as a suspect in what crime? The correct answer is B, as in boy, the theft of a gun. Bank robbery? Really, cement shoes? And I've got months worth of these things written down. Because we only do this once a week on Sundays. So, I mean, if I had the time tonight, we could do 30 questions on, general, true crime trivia, which will be next weekend. I already have it written down. The next one after that, I don't know which individual will do. I'll pick one off the list. We've already done Ted Bundy. We did John Wayne Gacy. We did we're doing Elaine tonight. She didn't have the patience for bank robbery. She did have the patience for check writing and other crimes, though. She definitely did for that. We did Robert DeSalvo, but she was questioned and listed as a suspect in theft of a gun. Surprise, surprise! It was a .22 caliber Smith & Wesson. Remember, she had an armed robbery. Yep. Of a convenience store. He's on the list. Charles is on the list. Cement shoes. How do you pronounce NG? There's no vowel there. But yeah, he's on the list. So is the West. Rosemary West and her husband. They're on the list. ING. Ing. How about Israel Keys? He was a horrible person. Yeah, Israel Keys. I don't think Israel Keys is on the list, though, but I could put him on there. Say it like Ing. Yeah. It rhymes with ring. Ing. Okay. Next question. How much time passed between Eileen's first murder of Richard Mallory and her second victim, David Spears? How much time passed between the first murder and then when she killed her second? The options are A, 1 year, B, 2 weeks, C, 1 month, or D, 6 months. How much time passed between her first murder of Richard Mallory and her second, David Spears? How much time lapsed in between the two murders? 10 minutes. Oh, thank you, Debbie. You despise Israel Keys. He reminds me Malachi from Children of the Corn. Malachi. Thankfully, they're not. I don't think they're remaking Children of the Corn, but they are remaking some of the true classics. The Princess Bride. They're remaking that, and they're remaking the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but based on the book. If they're going to stick in the remake of the new one that they're doing of that, they're sticking closer to the actual book than the actual movie version of it. So, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was first, and then Johnny Depp's remake was the second. So the third one is actually going to stick closer to the book. So if you actually have ever read the real book, the book itself, kind of a more of a horror mystery than something you want to take your kids to. Princess Bride is weird. I know. I can't believe that they're remaking it. I don't think there's anything that you can really do to. And that the other one they're remaking is the Never Ending Story. Is the other one they're remaking. Angelina, you loved Princess Bride. It's like did Hollywood run out of ideas for movies, so now they're remaking these classics? I don't know. But how much time passed between the murder of Richard Mallory and David Spears? The correct answer is D, as in dog. 6 months. There was a 6-month window of lapse between the first victim and the second. Miss OMG XXX, you love The Princess Bride too? Michelle P. I don't always like remakes. There's a lot of movies that I don't like the remakes of. Like the Stand, the original Stand with Jack Nicholson, true classic. The remake that had the I always call him the Wings boy because he was on the TV series the Wings, but he was in the remake of Stand. I mean, I guess he did an okay job, but I always remember him from that role. So it was kind of hard to picture him, in a role, an iconic role that Jack Nicholson had done. So Lost Boys. I hope they don't remake the Lost Boys. No, Lost Boys was a classic. If it ain't broken, don't fix it. That's your There are some movies that I've seen that have been redone that were really good. But most are not. Though I like the original. Yeah, please don't remake the Lost Boys. All right. Next question. Eugene Burris picked up Elaine while she was hitchhiking. What was Eugene doing the day he picked her up? Eugene Burris picked up Elaine while she was hitchhiking. What was Eugene doing the day he picked her up? The options are A, he was working as a delivery driver and making deliveries. B, coming back from church. C, coming back from the hospital. Or D, he was going to the store. Eugene Burris picked up Elaine while she was hitchhiking. What was Eugene doing the day he picked her up? Driving, Juju? Yep, you got that right. So count that as you got one right. He was definitely driving. He was definitely driving. Vince Vaughn remade Hitchcock's Psycho in 1996 with Annie H. I'm still scared for life. I didn't know that. Vince Vaughn. Oh, Vince Vaughn, was he in the Wedding Crasher? Left church and purchased Elaine. Eileen. That was pretty much her ruse, her method of hitchhiking, getting right with Jesus. Hopefully, driving for work, was that an option? Yes, Michelle, that was the first one. Working as a delivery driver, making deliveries, is A. B is coming back from church. C is coming home from the hospital, or D, going to the store. Scarred, not scared. Oh, sorry if I misread that. It was a dumpster fire remake. Diana Bowman. Welcome, Diana. Sorry if I missed you earlier, if you're just getting here, but welcome. I hope you had a wonderful weekend, Diana. Miss OMG is going with B, which is coming back from church. Okay, I'm going to go with A. I just don't want it to be B. The Exorcist is number one of the scariest movies, probably because you were 7 when my dad made me watch it. You're 7 years old when you watched it? Wow. The Exorcist, the original Exorcist was a good one. Amityville Horror was a great movie, the original. I mean, Friday the 13th. like those horror movies. One of them was redone by Rob Zombie. Halloween. He redid Halloween. That's sick at 7, man. American Tail came after The Exorcist. Stand By Me. That's a classic. And the song Stand By Me was written by Bill Withers. Love Bill Withers' voice. He also wrote the song Grandma's Hand. Look it up on YouTube. Great song. The original Friday the 13th had Johnny Depp. I loved him. All right, so Eugene Burris, what was he doing the day that he picked up Elaine while she was hitchhiking? The correct answer is A, as an apple. He was working as a delivery driver making deliveries. Yes, he picked her up in the company vehicle. I'm a lightweight. I guess I cannot watch horrors if it's truly scary. I'm not much of a fan either, okie dokie, of the horror genre itself. There's some that I've watched over the years that I like. I'm more somebody who I like comedy or drama. More in that area than necessarily blood and guts and gore. I mean, I get enough of it doing this, but that's just always been the way I've been. Romance, movies. My wife always thought it was weird as hell, but one of the Heath Ledger as the Joker was a good one, and Brokeback Mountain. Sure, maybe it has to deal with two people who are two men, but still, it's a damn good love story. You could replace one with the other, man and a woman or two women, whatever. It'd still be a great story, and it was very well done. Heath, yep, it's a tragic loss. They took me to the movies to watch the Prince of Darkness. Can't watch gory horror. You like suspense. They cut the scene out of the original theatrical release and they put it on the DVD. The one scene is scarier than the rest of the film together. Really? He was a religious man, though. Eugene was a religious man. He just wasn't coming back from church that day. But she was working as a hitchhiking prostitute. All right. Victim Peter Sims' body was never. This is the next question. Victim Peter Sims' body was never recovered to this day. What was Peter Sims' profession at the time he went missing and was murdered by Eileen? I'll read the question again. Victim Peter Sims' body was never recovered to this day. What was Peter Sims' profession at the time he went missing and was murdered by Eileen? A, he was a shoe salesman. B, he was a merchant marine. Or C, he was a dentist. Or D, he was a Supreme Court clerk. What was Peter Sims' profession at the time that he was murdered? The remake of The Omen was a joke. I've never seen that one. I don't think I'd want to cement shoes. The original is classic. Seen it on his VHS. Reed Remick, the original. Children of the Corn scared me pretty good as a child. Don't know what my parents were thinking with that one. Michelle, it is a thriller. Malachi. Just think, it's normally, if it wasn't for this stupid COVID stuff, we wouldn't be doing this. I'd be traveling in the United States right now, because that's what I do every June, is I travel the United States, watching minor league baseball games, and when I hit little towns like that all the time. I can't tell you how many different little tiny diners I've eaten in that are like that in the one in the movie, the Children of the Corn, where they were. I've been to a lot of towns like that, and especially in the Corn Belt in the middle of the United States. I have been to some serious towns that look just like that movie. Main Street. Dentist was on there. Dentist is option C. Victim Peter Sims' body was never recovered to this day. What was Peter Sims' profession at the time he went missing, was murdered by Eileen? A, he was a shoe salesman. B, a merchant marine. C, a dentist. Or D, a Supreme Court clerk. What was his profession? Dentist is C, as in cat. I'm flying my son to Illinois on the 18th for a week. First getaway. Well, congratulations on finally being able to get away and do something. Hope you have fun. Stay safe out there, Juju, when you go. What was Peter Sims' profession at the time that he was murdered by Eileen? I don't know. I'm just here for fun. I hope you're having fun. It's his 16th birthday surprise. Well, happy birthday to your son, on his sweet 16th birthday. All right. What was Peter Sims' profession at the time that he was murdered by Eileen? The correct answer is B. He was a merchant marine. Shoe salesman is Al Bundy. That's where I got that idea from. I put that one in. And Supreme Court clerk, none of her victims were Supreme Court clerks. Most of them were day laborers or laborers, or retiree in a couple cases. Cement shoes is cheating. I think the remake had the same ending, but it was awful. But scenes in original Omen is the drive-through zoo and the baboons. Yeah, you know what I finally watched this past year? I finally was able to sit down and watch from beginning to end, which is a rarity when it comes to me in my schedule and my life, to be able to sit down and watch a complete movie from beginning to end. Because I'm always, someone is coming in. My son always needs something. It just always works out that way. But I was finally able to sit down and watch the complete movie of The Clockwork Orange with Jack Nicholson. I was finally able to watch the complete thing in its entirety. I was pretty happy about that. We've been in lockdown here in Chicago so long, my daughter can finally come home to visit from Miami. Well, that's good, Angelina. There's a chimpanzee war. Jane Goodall wrote about it. Bone chilling. All right. Next question. Clockwork Orange was a freaky movie. I think Jack Nicholson did an awesome job in that movie. But next question. Of Elaine victims, one victim stands out from the rest. She initially said she was defending herself from each of the men that she ended up killing, but later recanted the statement that this victim, the one that stands out, was actually trying to help her. Who was it? I'll read the question again. Of Eileen's victims, one victim stands out from the rest. She initially said she was defending herself from each man, but later recanted that statement. This one victim was actually trying to help her. Who was it? A. Eugene Burris. B. Charles Cardican, I think that's how you pronounce it. C. Dick Humphrey. Or D. Walter Antonio. Monty Python. Oh, we love Monty Python. My entire family loves Monty Python. You can't beat Monty Python. Search for the Holy Grail. Flying Circus. Great movies. I have the LPs, the actual records to both of them. But we love Monty Python. Little bit of Sandra. Was it Keith? Yes, it was Keith. For that question. It's been a while. Excuse me. I'm trying to remember the movie. Run away, run away. I will taunt you a second time. I like the Black Knight. It's just a flesh wound. Standing there with both arms cut off and one leg cut off. It's just a flesh wound. She's a witch. Runaway Train, Never Going Back. The song? Are you trying to think of the song? Juju Positive? What number are we on right now? Juju Positive? We are on question number 27. Of all of Eileen's victims, one victim stands out from the rest. She initially said she was trying to defend herself from each man, but later recanted that statement. This one victim was actually trying to help her. Who was it? Will this weekend be so mighty as to blow the foundations of the earth? I think you're a little bit behind, a little bit of Sandra, but yes, it was definitely Tyra Moore for that question is correct. So who was the one victim that was trying to help her that she killed? Well, it happens to be the correct answer is C, as in cat. Dick Humphreys. He was a retired police chief, and he was trying to help her get out of the life of being a prostitute. And of all the men that she killed, she shot him not once, not twice, but 7 times in the back. And then she stripped him of his clothes and all the other victims, and then left him. Obviously, he's dead, but she stripped him of his clothes after he was shot. But he was actually trying to help her get out of the life of being a prostitute. He was retired former chief of police. Once Oregon is 70% vaccinated, no more restrictions. It's at 66.2%. It's Monty Python. He can't say Earth. Oh, thank you, Kim. And welcome to the stream, Kim. So the next question on the trivia tonight. Before being executed by lethal injection, Eileen fired all of her attorneys. She fired them all, who were working on trying to get her a stay of execution. Basically means that they take the execution date and they get rid of it, and you stay in prison. You don't go home, but they just don't. They won't kill you. They just turn your sentence into life in prison without parole. But she fired all her attorneys who were working on getting her a stay of execution. She was then appointed a public defender who believes to this day that she was mentally ill in the last part of her life. How many state psychologists found her mentally okay, to understand the outcome and sentence that she was given, so they could execute her? All right? We'll read the question again. Before being executed by lethal injection, Eileen fired all of her attorneys who were working on getting her a stay of execution. She was then appointed a public defender who believes to this day that she was mentally ill at the latter part of her life. How many state psychiatrists found her to be mentally okay and understand her actual sentence so she could be executed? How many? All right. The options are A, 1, B, 2, C, 3, or D, 4. How many? How many did they, state psychiatrists, did they roll out in front of the court to say that Eileen was of sound mind and understood her her sentence, that she was to die by lethal injection, so they could actually execute her? Antonio Sabato Jr. plays Henry Lee in what? Goodbye. Henry Lee Lucas in another film. I didn't know that. Juju positive, you missed the multiple choice. I'll read the question and the options again, Juju. Before being executed by lethal injection, Eileen fired all of her attorneys. She was then appointed a public defender for her case. All right, who believes to this day that she was mentally ill in the later part of her life. How many state psychiatrists found her mentally okay and that she understood her actual sentence so she could be executed? See, you can't execute somebody if they're mentally ill or if they're not able to aid in their own defense. That's the the ruling of the United States Supreme Court. You can't execute somebody who doesn't understand the sentence or is unable to aid in their own defense. How many state psychiatrists did they roll out to the court to say that she was okay? Options are A, 1, B, 2, C, 3, or D, 4. Hire Brad Pitt to play Otis Toole. That's an interesting. I don't know if Brad Pitt would want to do that, but may as well hire Robert Redford to play Albert Fish. You know who I don't think Robert Redford would do it, but Fish. That's I'd have to think about that one to see who do I think would play Robert Fish, Albert Fish the best. It's a good question. Good to think about it. How many state psychiatrists did they roll out to, in the case? Because her public defender said, "Look, man, she's mentally ill. You can't execute her." And then the state she sent off to be evaluated, and they just rolled out a whole bunch of witnesses. State psychiatrist and said, "Oh, she's mentally ill." So the correct answer for this one is C, as in cat, 3. The state only needed to have one state psychiatrist say that she was mentally, okay to be executed, but they sent her and had 3 separate state psychiatrists come and testify in the court case that she was not, mentally ill, that she was of sound mind, and she understood her sentence, so she could be executed. Now, he believes to this day that she was mentally ill, and there might have been something to that all that time in prison, that decade on death row, that her mind she went nuts. But he wasn't able to convince the court of it. They hanged H.H. Holmes on your birthday. Okay, I wasn't born about 100 more years, but it still makes me happy. All right, next question. In 1974, what was Eileen arrested for? In 1974, what was she arrested for? A, bank robbery. B, murder. C, arson. Or D, DUI and disorderly conduct. Well, she admitted to each and every one of the murders that she committed. She had absolutely no problem telling the most graphic details of it. It's that her version was she killed all the men because she was defending herself from these men who were trying to rape her or assault her in some way. And it's not true, because we know that the former chief of police wasn't actually a customer. He had just met her in a parking lot area when she was hitchhiking, and he tried to offer her assistance and gave her information where she could go to get off the street so she didn't have to be a prostitute anymore. And she didn't like that. So as soon as her first opportunity to kill him, she did. What was A and B? All right, I'll read it again for you. Pretty wicked one. In 1974, Eileen was arrested for what? The options are A, bank robbery, B, murder, C, arson, or D, DUI and disorderly conduct. What was she arrested for in 1974? Zelda, welcome. That does it. I ain't gonna hitchhike no more. And thank you, sweetheart, for the coleslaw recipe. I never would have guessed horseradish as the ingredient, but I found a recipe that is similar online, so we kind of can play with the portions of it. But thank you very much for uploading the video today. Pretty wicked going with D. The first guy did 10 years in prison for rape. The others, I don't think did a thing. I think the guy who did 10 years for rape pushed her over the edge. What was his name? Yeah. When David Spears was he the second one or first one? Yeah, whatever. Oh, I'll post it in the community tab tomorrow, Zelda. The one that we found though, the only thing that we're curious about, is it actually called for caraway powder or caraway, or I think that's how you pronounce it, powder in it. But that was in one of the other seasonings but it had horseradish in it. So, all right, what was she arrested for in 1974? The correct answer is D, as in dog, DUI and disorderly conduct. And ladies and gentlemen, here's a surprise for you. It wasn't in the state of Florida. It was in Colorado. That's where she lived at the time. It was in Colorado, and she was arrested for DUI and disorderly conduct, and she never went back to court. Never did. She hitchhiked back from Colorado to Florida and said, screw this. I'm just never going back. My bad, Richard Mallory. I apologize to David Spears in heaven. Mallory. Caraway. Is that how you pronounce it? Or Caraway? But yeah, that was one of the seasons where we don't have any of that. An earthquake? Yeah, it's kind of hard to actually tell, but you can see in your pond videos, Zelda, you can see like the what is that, a water lily or whatever it is that's in the pond. You can see that a little bit more clear than you can see the water, but you can see that water lily moving back and forth. At least that's the way it appears on the video. The correct answer was D, disorderly conduct and DUI. It's pronounced like Valerie with an M, Mallory. In the documentary, well, I'm sure that's probably correct. I'm not questioning that. For some reason, my brain's just not reading these things tonight and pronouncing them correctly. All right, next question. Where were Elaine's ashes spread? Where were her ashes spread? Your options are A, Michigan, B, Florida, C, Kansas, or D, Colorado. Where were Eileen's ashes spread? I'm still here. I mixed up I mixed up the innocent guy with a scumbag, our guy. So don't feel bad. Nachito is going to roll the dice with Colorado. Her adopted friend put them under a tree. Well, you're absolutely right about that, Deb. Her ashes were spread underneath the tree, but where is that tree? Debbie. Yep, Juju. That's why I turned the camera off. They're offended by it, and then there's others who have quit smoking, and by watching somebody else smoke apparently is a trigger for them. So out of respect for people who have quit smoking, I turn the camera off. So, I'm not here to offend people. It's the world we live in, Juju. And it's not to demonetize, no. YouTube demonetizes cigarette, but smoking greenage is okay. No, it's actually cement shoes. I actually have I reached out to on the actual creator's desktop on the main page for my dashboard. You would we now have a live chat person who is a that I can chat with, and then I can get a transcript of it, and I actually have the email, and I asked, is the use of tobacco products or vaping against the community guidelines? No, it's not against the community guidelines, but it is considered a flag for those for advertiser. It's not something that companies want to place ads on, content that is promoting or encouraging tobacco use. Oh, welcome to the membership, little bit of Thundra. The Cecil Hotel. I've been asked to do quite a few videos about the Cecil Hotel. So where were Eileen's ashes spread? The correct answer is A, in Michigan. And yes, like I said, her ashes were spread by her friend underneath a tree in a park at a location there in Michigan. Good night, Kim. You have a terrific week ahead, Kim, and stay safe out there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was all 30 questions on the trivia for tonight. So how did we end up doing? Did you find the questions hard? Did you find them confusing? Did you get a lot of them right? I know Cement Shoes was just killing it. Right on here, done. And it's 6/6/2021. I'm looking way better? Well, thank you. You got a B grade? Great question list. Next week is general true crime trivia. Good night, Debbie. Have a great week. Going back and take the entire trivia. This one was way harder than the last one. Well, Debbie, next week is general crime trivia. So the questions are everything ranging from pop culture to historical cases. Just to give you an idea of like who some of the questions are around next week. So there's one about the Unabomber. We have Bernie Madoff on there, Charles Manson, Lee Harvey Oswald, James Earl Ray, Bugsy Siegel, the mobster, O.J. Simpson, William Straude, the Birdman of Alcatraz, Robert Vesco, the Boston Strangler, Albert Del Savo, Dennis Nielsen, Peter Sutcliffe. There's another question on here about Eileen. And we even have a Perry Mason question. But that's just some of the ones that, subject matter for next week. You only recognized O.J. Simpson? Well, Lee Harvey Oswald killed John F. Kennedy. Ray killed Martin Luther King. Bernie Madoff, Ponzi scheme, $300 million from people, something like that. I think he's what he stole. But some of the questions are all over the board. They're not about one particular area. Some of the questions are they're all crime related, in some aspect. Perry Mason. When I was a kid, when I went to school, and I used to go in the morning. I think it was like in kindergarten, first grade or something like that. I used to go to. I went to school, and I only went a half day, and then the school bus would drop me back off at home. Right outside my door. And me and my mom used to watch Perry Mason together, and we had those metal TV tray things, that go on a stand, and you put them together. But we used to eat saltine crackers with butter on them when I would come home from school. That was about the only time that my mother was actually a mother. The intro to Perry Mason. You gotta laugh at it. Saltines and peanut butter. I don't think I've ever tried that, peanut butter on saltines. But we used to eat butter, like just butter straight on saltine crackers. Your mother was kind of like a super mom. I wish mine was just an average mom, or a good mom. My mother was nothing to write home about. Your mom was a mess, kind of like Eileen. She didn't murder anyone, though. Saltines and tuna. That sounds good. You get that saltiness along with the fish, tuna. Yeah, that sounds good. I'd like that. Never buttered a cracker. We're from Wisconsin, though. So I'm absolutely not joking about this at all. Probably about 4 years ago, I was back home in Wisconsin, and we decided to go to the county fair. And I saw the poster downtown when I was doing some shopping, and the poster said tractor pull. And I'm thinking, oh, I've seen that on TV, those big, huge nitro burning like tractors, that pull a sled down a track, and and the weight keeps on moving, closer and closer, making it harder and harder for the tractor to pull it until it stops. I've seen that. I'm like, yeah, that'd be cool. Well, so we'll go to the county fair. We'll see nitro burning, tractor pull. We get there, and it's not that at all. It's just regular tractors from the farm. You couldn't modify it at all. It had to have a stock motor, and everything had to be 100% stock. Even the seat had to be original to the tractor. And they pulled a cart full of hay. That's it. But speaking of butter, though, the reason why I brought that up is at the actual fair, they had one of the vendors there had deep fried Snicker bars, and they also had sticks of butter, deep fried. Deep fried sticks of butter, ladies and gentlemen. Saltines and Miracle Whip. You love the Ritz cheese sandwiches. Every meal. Homemade bread sounds good. I make my own sourdough. I have sourdough starters that I'd have to look it up to see where the starters are from, but they go back to like the Middle Ages. Sourdough starters that have been someone. I don't know if the ones that I have necessarily are from that starter, but it's that starter culture. The culture itself, it goes back that far. The butter just melt when deep fried. I've never seen that. Michelle, what they do is they actually freeze the sticks of butter they have the stick on the butter itself, then they freeze it, and then they dip it into the same batter you'd use for to make like corn dogs, and then they stick it in the fryer. And what it does is it as it's cooking, the heat from the fryer, itself cooks the coating on the outside. Yes, it does melt a lot of the butter inside, so it's like just pure butter gushing into your mouth, melted butter. But the part that was that's frozen is now thawed, so you're eating an actual stick of butter on a stick. I make fresh Italian bread at least twice a week. Also make your own pasta. We make when I say we, I mean my daughter makes fresh pasta. Love it. That's the best. She has one of those attachments that go on the KitchenAid mixer that actually makes pasta. And she's always experimenting with different varieties of pasta, putting different things in it. So most of it's really good though. She makes one that's a tomato base. It's got tomatoes in it, where she dries her own. She has a dehydrator, and she dries the tomatoes, and then she grinds it up into a powder, and then adds that in along with the flour. It's really good. Julian, okie dokie, you'll be by tomorrow. Yep. Well, think about the deep fried Snickers. I mean, a Snicker bar is already fattening the way it is. But I mean, now you add a coating of batter to the outside of it and deep fry it. You bite into that one, and it's just like a melted, gooey mess because the caramel still stays together. The rest of it is just like explodes in your mouth. It is Starfire, a hardest tack on a stick, absolutely. But they eat some pretty weird things. I don't know if maybe here where I live on the west, out on the west, I'm in Washington State. But here in Washington State, I can't go to the store and find cheese curds. But everywhere back there, you can go into an AM PM or a Circle K or whatever convenience store, gas station. Doesn't matter where you go, you can find cheese curds everywhere. Every store's got them, and they're always either by the checkout counter or they're already deep fried or in the hot container section. And I thought the maple donuts with bacon strips on them were bad. That Voodoo Donuts in Oregon, in Portland. Voodoo. They make some wild donuts like that. They make ones with cereal on them, Captain Crunch, all kinds of stuff like that on top of a donut. So there's a glaze, and then they dump cereal on top of it, so it sticks to the top of the donut. But they do have one that it's like I think it has like 3 slices of bacon per donut, something like that. I thought PB and mayo sandwiches is bad, and Voodoo Donuts is not okay. You just can't do that okie dokie. The deep fried butter. You're in Michigan, Starfire? Yeah. Well, but that's everywhere back home. I mean, and the other thing, like in Wisconsin, that we can find everywhere is jerky that is made, like deer meat jerky or fish jerky. You can find it everywhere. You can't find anything but beef and pork out here where I live, the jerky. A Predator place Voodoo Donuts. Bacon, Angelina, yeah. Bacon goes on everything. Makes everything better. What is a Voodoo Donut? That's the name of the cement shoes. That's the name of the actual establishment. It's called Voodoo Donuts. Best cheese curds I've ever had always come from Quebec. They have a squeaky when you chew them. Yeah. Well, in Quebec, Michelle, is something they're just now starting, at least where I live, it's just now starting to hit, in this area, and people are starting to offer it, is Putin. If you guys have never had Putin in it, you're missing out. Think of French fries, cheese curds, and gravy. Really good gravy, like brown gravy. You put cheese curds and gravy, and and cheese curds, gravy, and fries together. So good. You wish you could eat the deer. Venison jerky is just everywhere back there. The quiz I really bombed on was Ted Bundy, LMO. I think I got 2 right. That's just now. I've noticed a couple of restaurants here that finally have it on their menu. Smaller places, they have an actual establishment, and then they have like a food truck. Poutine is the best invention ever. It is really good. I mean, I wouldn't call it health food, but it's really good. We made fresh homemade cottage cheese. Is the kind of that's kind of like cheese curds. Yeah, a little bit. Cheese curds are bigger than cottage cheese curds. Cheesecake pancakes are delicious. Ooh, that sounds good. Pretty wicked. Cheesecake pancakes. Michelle, have a good night. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to wrap it up there. I hope you all have a terrific week ahead. Again, next Sunday, we will be back again, same time, 7 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And we're doing a general, true crime trivia. Same format, multiple choice, 4 options for every question. 30 questions all together. But again, everyone, thank you for joining me. Welcome to all the new channel members and everybody else out there. And I hope you have a great week. And thanks, Will. It was fun. Well, thanks, Brooke. I appreciate it. A little bit of Sandra, 11:45 p.m. here. Good night, y'all. You have a great week ahead, little bit of Sandra. And everyone, again, have a great week.